Millions of Americans who rely on fixed incomes may soon hear some hopeful news, as a new proposal from Senate Democrats aims to temporarily boost Social Security payments by an extra $200 a month. It's a bold move designed to give seniors and other benefit recipients a bit of breathing room, even though the bill faces an uphill political battle. The legislation, known as the Social Security Emergency Inflation Relief Act, would increase payments through July 2026 for people receiving Social Security, SSI, veterans' disability benefits, veterans' pensions, and railroad retirement income. Supporters of the bill argue that older Americans are being hit the hardest by rising prices, and many are struggling to stretch their monthly checks far enough to cover basic necessities. Senator Elizabeth Warren, who is leading the push, says skyrocketing consumer prices combined with the financial fallout of Trump-era tariffs have left retirees feeling financially squeezed. For her, the extra $200 isn't just a bonus. It's an emergency lifeline intended to help seniors keep up with rising costs. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer echoed the same concern. He pointed out that the upcoming 2.8% cost of living adjustment from the Social Security Administration doesn't come close to reflecting the true economic reality facing older Americans. Groceries cost more, utilities cost more, healthcare costs more, yet the support millions depend on hasn't grown at the same pace. While the proposal is attracting support from several Senate Democrats, including Kirsten Gillibrand and Ron Wyden, the Republican-controlled Senate is signaling clear resistance. That means the bill's chances of making it through are slim, but the conversation it sparks is still important. Inflation remains stubbornly high, rising to 3% in September, the highest level since January. Everyday essentials like coffee, toys, and home furniture have all seen noticeable price hikes in recent months. Those increases are hitting people on fixed incomes especially hard, making budgeting feel like a never-ending challenge. These financial pressures come at a time when overall consumer sentiment has slipped to its lowest point in over 3 years, a trend worsened by the recent government shutdown, the longest one in U.S. history. And it's not just older Americans feeling the weight of affordability issues. Across the country, everything seems to cost more, and long-term financial goals feel further out of reach. Even the median age of first-time homebuyers climbed to 40 years old in 2025, the highest it has ever been, underscoring how difficult it has become for people to achieve financial milestones that once seemed standard. Alongside the proposed $200 boost, Democrats have also introduced another bill aiming to rethink how cost of living adjustments are calculated for seniors. Right now, the Social Security Administration uses the CPIW index, which is based on the spending habits of younger, urban workers. Critics say this formula has never accurately reflected the expenses older adults face. The new proposal, called the Boosting Benefits and COLAs for Seniors Act, would instead use the CPI index, a measure specifically focused on Americans age 62 and older. This index puts more weight on things like healthcare, prescription drugs, and housing, all of which tend to rise faster than general consumer prices. Supporters argue that switching to CPIE would provide a more realistic and fair adjustment that keeps pace with the actual cost of aging in America. Senator Gillibrand summed up the purpose of the bill by emphasizing that seniors have spent decades paying into the system, and now it's failing to keep up with the realities of their living expenses. For many older Americans, Social Security isn't just supplemental income, it's the foundation of their financial stability. According to the Senior Citizens League, nearly three-quarters of seniors rely on Social Security for more than half of their total income. The average retirement benefit sits at about $2,008 per month, a figure that can feel increasingly tight as prices continue to climb. Social Security provides essential support not only for retirees starting at age 62, but also for disabled Americans and families who rely on survivor benefits. With over 71 million people depending on these payments, staying informed about potential changes, proposed increases, and payment schedules is crucial. Whether or not these new bills pass, the discussions around them highlight just how vital Social Security is and how urgently many Americans need relief from rising costs that continue to stretch their budgets to the limit. At the same time, the push for these changes underscores a growing realization across the country. The economic landscape seniors are navigating today looks nothing like it did a generation ago. Many retirees who once expected their savings, pensions, and social security checks to provide a comfortable, predictable retirement are now finding themselves facing unpredictable spikes in essential costs. Healthcare alone has become one of the fastest growing expenses, with prescription drug prices rising year after year and long term care becoming increasingly unaffordable for the average household. When you combine that with higher prices at the grocery store, steeper utility bills, and rising rents or property taxes, it becomes clear why so many older Americans feel that their fixed incomes simply aren't keeping pace with reality. That's one of the key reasons Democrats are advocating for a shift toward the CPI model. By using a measurement that actually reflects the way seniors spend their money, lawmakers hope to create a more accurate and fair cost of living adjustment that doesn't leave retirees falling behind. Under the current CPIW system, seniors often end up with smaller COLA increases that don't truly match the inflation they experience in their daily lives. By comparison, CPI tends to produce slightly higher adjustments because it accounts more heavily for medical and housing related costs. For millions who depend heavily on Social Security, and for the 73% of seniors who rely on it for more than half of their income, even a modest improvement in COLA calculations could make a noticeable difference when budgeting for the essentials. This conversation comes at a crucial moment as Americans are becoming more aware of how deeply inflation and rising living costs are reshaping financial expectations. Younger generations entering the workforce or trying to buy homes are feeling squeezed, but seniors living on fixed incomes often have even fewer options. Many cannot return to work, increase their earnings, or significantly change their financial plans this late in life. That's why proposals like the $200 a month boost and changes to COLA formulas spark such strong reactions for many retirees. These are not political talking points, but practical solutions that could relieve real, pressing financial strain. Meanwhile, the political debate continues, with Republicans expressing concerns about the long term cost of these proposals and the impact on the federal budget. While the ideas may resonate with millions of Americans struggling with high living expenses, the reality is that passing major legislation in a divided Congress is always a challenge. Even so, the introduction of these bills sends an important message. Lawmakers are paying attention to the financial hardship many older adults are facing, and they're looking for ways to ease that burden, even if the path forward remains uncertain. As all of this plays out in Washington, seniors and their families are left watching closely, trying to understand how these potential changes could affect their financial future. For retirees living month to month on fixed benefits, the hope of a little extra breathing room, whether that comes from a temporary payment boost or a more accurate COLA calculation, feels especially meaningful in today's economic climate. And regardless of whether the proposed legislation succeeds, the issues it raises highlight a broader truth. Social Security is more than just a government program. For more than 71 million Americans, it's the backbone of their financial security, a lifeline that keeps them afloat in uncertain times, and a reminder of the importance of staying informed and prepared as the landscape continues to shift.